My name's Ryan Malarjan. I'm the founder of Grass Riots. I'm a digital technologist for the nonprofit sector. I've been around for a long time now. And one of my favorite things is to work with this community of engaging networks, users, and clients. I've been a client myself. Graham Covington used to answer my support calls back in 2005. And I've been a consultant working with clients in this community since 2011.
I'm Kevin Kardash with the University of Ottawa. I got into advancement a little over 20 years ago. I'm from Ohio, and I was brought into McGill University to run the CRM and oversee a team of programmers and other fantastic data professionals. Then I did consulting for a while, and now I've been at the University of Ottawa for about 9 years. Yeah, so the first slide, what happens when your fundraising vision is bigger than your platform? I should first start out by saying we're going to get to Giving Day at the end of the presentation. It was quite a road to get there. And we were confronted with all kinds of challenges, which is why we decided to go with engaging networks. But first, a little bit about Ottawa. We're the world's largest bilingual French and English university. So for us, a solution that works perfectly in both French and English was absolutely important. There's a whole bunch of solutions out there that sort of are bilingual, but they really aren't. So this is super important to us. We have 45,000 students, 10,000 employees, and nearly 300,000 alumni. And we market to various intensities to all of them. We have 10 faculties, multiple research centers, dozens of support teams. We're what's called the U15 University. We're one of the 15 doctoral research intensive universities in Canada, and we have a medical school. And so what this brings us to is that we have lots of causes. At the bottom of the slide there, it says we have 2,600 specialized funds. So that might sound completely crazy, and it is. It drives us mad. But what universities have found is that by catering to the donor and the donor's need and allowing that donor to support what they believe in, we're able to raise money like the number you see at the top. So we just finished a campaign, a little over 10 years, over $500 million. And for a large public university, that's not even that big. But that's what universities are able to do. I believe largely because we've honed in on people's personal needs. If we look at the 1980s, 70% of our donors at Ottawa would donate to unrestricted giving, something called University's Greatest Needs, where the president and the people who advise the president can decide where that donor money should go to best meet the needs of the university. Today, only 7% of donors are willing to support an unrestricted gift. So what we're finding is that people's needs are not necessarily the institution's needs, and so it's a constant challenge to try and marry those together so that both needs are met and that the donor, most importantly, is satisfied. And when I go to most nonprofit websites, I notice that there isn't really donor choice, and I don't have any empirical proof that this would work for you. But for example, I donate every month to an organization called Dans la Rue in Montreal. I live in Montreal. They support homeless youth. But I wonder, what if they gave me a choice? Do I want to support housing? Do I want to support food? Do I want to support job training? Would they raise more money overall if they gave me, the donor, a choice? And again, I can't prove it, but it's something to consider. I do know that that approach works for us. So for us, personalization, not only in terms of what we offer people to support, but in the way we write the email, the way we approach them as individuals, personalization is no longer optional, it's essential. The other challenge that we have is that online giving has been a shrinking portion of the money we take in. So in the year that just finished, we raised $50 million, and online giving only accounted for $1 million of it. And that actually has been going down over the last 5 years. We believe that there's a reason for that, and we'll get to that later on. But one of our goals, of course, is to increase the proportion of online giving revenue in terms of overall revenue. And that is the trend in our industry in higher ed, and I'm sure it's the trend for all of you as well. So we knew that we needed both better technology and the right implementation partner. And we had all these needs. So for example, we need this highly personalized experience. We need for people to be able to find the cause that they support. Like if we have 1,300 causes that are available online, how do they find it? And if someone wants to support 2 causes or 3 causes, how do we enable them to do that? And then what this presentation is leading up to is Giving Day. Universities have been very successful in having one day a year in which they raise a lot of money all of a sudden. And we needed a platform and a way to do that effectively. So for technical requirements, we have lots of different faculties, research centers, and lots of causes. And each of them can have their own special branding, their own special messaging, their own special photographs that appear on the page. Donors wanted to donate in more ways, and so I believe Apple Pay and Google Pay and things like that are the way of the future. I think 5 years from now, not too many people will be using credit cards because what's the point, and it's less secure. We needed a visual appeal that was truly gripping, where someone sees it and they don't want to leave the page. And all the complexity that we need, it can't appear complex to the user. Donor cannot be confused by it. It has to be very streamlined. It has to just flow easily. And we need to pack lots of information into the URL that they click on for various reasons. And we needed to basically accommodate lots of complexity without sacrificing experience, and offer people lots of choices. So what did we do? Our new.
I did insert the slide.
Okay, we're missing a slide. So I'll just say the slide out loud. We chose engaging networks, but then we went about to say, well, what do we want to do with it? So we went through literally 3 dozen different organizations, about a dozen universities, and a couple dozen other nonprofits, and we looked for great ideas about what we could do to solve our issues. And among the most important is the user experience. So at least in higher ed, what the stats say is the highest predictor of someone donating online is the experience they have when they get to the form. So all the work we put into the perfect email and the perfect photograph and the perfect pitch and the perfect branding and the perfect logo and all that, what is the highest predictor, at least in our industry, is the experience they have when they get to that form. So we needed really good ideas, and we actually did come up with a list of ideas around how to accomplish all the things I just talked about, and then we called Ryan.
Thanks, Kevin. So I want to hit the point that having a partner like UOttawa on this project was amazing. I mean, they brought so much to the table, as Kevin talked about, the research and the requirements that they brought as a starting point, and it really allowed us to direct our thinking towards a result that was the ultimate solution that Kevin and his team were looking for. One thing that, I'm walking through a little bit about what things looked like as we started this project, but it really was a three-way partnership between Grassroots, UOttawa, and Engaging Networks. And I would say that a big part of that was the careful consideration and thoughtfulness in terms of the engineering solutions that were necessary for this account in order to bring it to life. It was a really great collaboration. Everything starts with discovery and data review and an implementation. I think this is important. It's important for us to know what the client's needs are. It's important for us to know what the objectives are, what the challenges are, and why they're moving. But one thing that was new for us was the requirement to have run a fit and gap analysis. And who's ever run a fit and gap analysis before on their projects? This is a really great way for us to translate technical and user experience requirements into an acceptability phase to say, like, okay, if you say you can do this, how are you going to do this? Prove this. Show us where the fits are. Show us where the gaps are. And it's an interstitial stage that we weren't very familiar with, but that Kevin's team brought to the table. And it actually led to a lot more engineering thinking early in the project that stayed with us throughout. This was a project that was heavy on user experience, and what we knew was we were going to have to bring in the best. We were one of our favorite partners, Matt Cook. Matt Cook is a UX developer here in Toronto. Look him up. I encourage you to reach out if you have needs in that area. Being able to provide iterative solutions around some of these problems, to take all of the research that Kevin's team had brought, looking at these other organizations, thinking about how we solve some of these big ideas, problems like 1,300 funds. That was a really thorough process for us. Moving into detailed designs, going into platform setup, then into the data migration, and data migration as well here. The challenges for us were having to find a way to move a lot more data between our fundraising forms and your CRM that weren't necessarily a built-in feature of Engaging Networks. And this is also where we brought in a partner, JMG Solutions, Jeff Gignac, to advise us on how to best use his Super Importer tool to accommodate some of these unique requirements. And then into our main form development, and then into specialty forms. And starting with like our base form, what is our general fundraising form? Let's solve all of the problems here. Let's do the majority of the work in user experience, do the iterative design, do the QA, have that ready to go, and then start moving into specialty forms, branded forms for other parts of the organization, telemarketing forms, fundraiser forms. And then finally, ultimately, Giving Day, which we think is like the best expression of the infrastructure that we built to solve a totally different problem. So this is what we created. And there are some very unique parts of this experience that are about how to solve the problem of giving a user choice, of providing findability, of providing a lot of flexibility, and also being able to direct people to an ultimate decision. Some things you'll see here are the search, for instance. So fund selection without split gifts. What we found in your research and in our research is how hard it was to actually choose a donation amount and then have to like do percentages across a number of different funds. If you had 1 or 3 funds, and all of these different UI and UX controls led to a lot of math. And math is a barrier. If you're trying to get someone to make a donation, don't make them do math and don't present math to them. And so here we went towards more of a shopping cart. All right, you select your funds, or you choose from a number of pre-selected funds, and you just choose how much you're going to donate to that fund. The ability to navigate through a user experience control. We use the material design drop-down, smart search. So as you start typing, the selection of funds gets less. It's a multi-select tool, so you can select multiple funds, and they appear in your selected funds. You then add the donation amount that can be from the range, a gift array that we preset, or your other amount. And then once you have selected your funds on the right side, you have your checkout cart. So we stole from some of the, the best things that are out there. People are used to e-commerce experiences. They're used to using an Amazon checkout. So every fund, once you select it and add a value, it becomes a part of your shopping cart. And now you see the list of funds that you're donating to. You add your transaction fee, and that becomes a line item as well. Now we didn't have to use split funds. Now we could have just ultimately $1 amount that a person would be submitting. And now we would have the work and the necessity to somehow tell the CRM that this was happening. And this was the solution that we provided on the left. The solution was that we took a transactional field in Engaging Networks and created essentially what's called a map. We calculated that with the space we had, we could have up to 5 funds plus a transaction fee cover. So that was the ceiling, 5 funds at a time. In the UX research, 1 was obviously the median. Most people donated 1. Some people, if they were doing multiple funds, 2 and 3 were kind of the options. Very few people were donating above 3 funds at a time. We like those people. We want to encourage those people, but so our solution would work technically for the majority of users, as well as being able to provide the fund ID, the amount that was donated to that fund. This information gets submitted through the transaction into the Super Importer and then mapped into Razor's Edge and ultimately your Oracle database of record. So you see there at the bottom, from EN to Super Importer to Razor's Edge. So this is where we worked with JMG Solutions to make sure that this format would translate into the data getting into Razor's Edge and being processed properly. This is our list of funds. And we had a challenge here too, because this is a list of funds that changes all the time. And it changes on Razor's Edge. It gets updated in their database of record. And there's a bit of a bi-directional sync between those two. But ultimately, we need this information to appear in the end. We need the person on the fundraising page to be able to go through a list of 1,300 funds. And if that list of funds gets updated, I don't want somebody to have to output a CSV file and update engaging networks. And so we, along with Kevin's team, they created a piece of middleware with a little bit of our direction. And that piece of middleware would just transfer the funds to Google Sheets. And we have a great connector that we use between Engaging Networks and Google Sheets in order to bring any kind of organized data into our fundraising and advocacy solutions. And so we could do that, build the UI out, have some resiliency, make sure that if that connector would ever down, we would always have a backup. But that allowed us to have this dynamic list of funds, always be ready to go and always be ready for populated. And then ultimately solving some of the other cool problems, like the ability for us to be able to change gift arrays or have conditional content on pages. UOttawa isn't using the email module, and what we still wanted the ability for them to send email campaigns that would be targeted to specific segments, and those segments would be able to have specific gift arrays. Maybe they're major donors or mid-level donors. Maybe they're trying to increase the average gift for an audience. We use shell profiles. So this is using the current profile tool in Engaging Networks. Essentially an empty profile. It gives us an ID, and that ID, when we send it in the URL, we can conditionalize a piece of content, we can conditionalize a gift array, or we can conditionalize both a content and a gift array. So this was using something that is in Engaging Networks. This works for a number of different situations, but using it in a way that created a framework for UOttawa to have the ability to implement this feature. Other things we did on the form were to implement address verification, address lookup, the ability to donate on behalf of a company, also employee giving, which was an important type of giving for UOttawa. So every form has the ability for a UOttawa employee to put in their ID, not process a transaction with their credit card, but cash as a check or cash. And then down in their CRM, the team over there knows how to initiate an employee giving transaction, just comes off their paycheck every month. Ultimately, once we had this great foundation, UOttawa was looking at us and saying, like, Giving Day is the ultimate goal here. How can we take this infrastructure and deploy it with this solution? And with the work that we had done on our user experience, we wanted to make sure that we had those capabilities. At the time, peer-to-peer wasn't a viable solution for us because mostly of the of having to do this in French and English, having to have integrated thermometers. Essentially what we did was we merged a number of the technologies that you saw into providing the solution. So this is a standard Engaging Networks fundraising page. And this is connected to a Google spreadsheet that references other projects in the Giving Day program. And those other projects are fundraising pages. We load in that spreadsheet, we build out each of these cards, and when the user selects a project, they're just navigating to another Engaging Networks fundraising page. So this allowed us, with this spreadsheet, to populate a fundraising page with all of these great projects. For UOttawa to be able to manage those projects, not in Engaging Networks, but in a spreadsheet so that they could update copy, they could update titles, they could add in images. And that let a team of people with a variety of skills and experience in Engaging Networks still manage this properly. And then ultimately be able to make a selection and navigate to their fundraising page. And Kevin, you want to talk about the results?
So we've done other Giving Days in the past, and some of them have been very heavily promoted, and this one was heavily promoted as well. Some have been done with lots of energy and enthusiasm, as this one was done, but this time we more than doubled any other previous Giving Day. The only thing I can attribute it to was the experience that the user had once they got there. And so kudos to the folks at Grass Riots and to my team as well, some of whom are here today. I think that this is what made the difference. And as you see there, 30% of those who donated were either brand new donors or were long lapse. They haven't donated for 8 or 9 years, right? And that we've more than doubled the revenue and the donors from any previous period. So $250,000 for a large public university, that's actually not that great. A university of our size should probably be doing $1 million for a giving day, but we've already doubled. So if we double again next year and again next year, we'll be there.
Next slide. And so, just in general, one of the things that has led this relationship to be very successful is, one, to have thoughtful communication between partners, to really have that both sides be really invested in a vision for what is possible, and to push each other, I think, to both bring engineering solutions, but also solutions that met really rigorous user experience requirements. So I'm really grateful for that experience.
As are we.
Grass Riots is a full-service Engaging Networks partner. Please look us up. We have some other amazing projects and other presentations at previous conferences we've done. And next slide. Please take a look. If you want to take a picture and go to the forum, play with it, mobile or desktop, it's there for you. I want to thank everybody on both the Grass Riots team and the UOttawa team for all of their help. Engaging Networks as well. Ted Fix, who is supporting us throughout, as well as Jeff Niniak. So thank you.
Thank you, too.
Amazing work. Really, really cool to see. I love the creativity and just how it looks. Really, really nice. Couple of questions. Okay. What are some learnings or optimizations you'd like to implement for the next Giving Day?
We're starting early. So we've already started planning for the next Giving Day. Was it optimizations? Is that the question?
Yeah.
Okay, so pulling the lists of names, we're going to have to really, because we've got all these different faculties and people wanting to do their own special things. So we're going to find ways to simplify that so that people who are pulling the data aren't pulling their hair out at the last minute trying to meet everyone's needs. And I think it's mostly starting early and having all the projects lined up well in advance and all approved and all the content ready.
Great. Were there any security challenges or concerns with the interoperability of various platforms, including custom middleware, Google Sheets, and Engaging Networks, et cetera?
I can speak to that if you want. Sure. But yeah, I think with Google Sheets, it's pretty important to note that that's public. If somebody wants to look at your code base, they can pull up that sheet. We made sure that that was information we were okay with sharing. A lot of the decisions around what type of middleware to use are actually going to be about maintainability. Right? Where is this piece of software going to live? How expensive is it going to be to run? Is it going to be on servers that Grass Riots controls, or is it going to be servers on that UOttawa controls? And there were solutions that we thought of that were more software driven, but at the end of the day, if we could simplify things, we just felt things were more maintainable and had less risk.
Yeah, nothing in Google Sheets is sensitive. It's all publicly available anyway. Like the list of funds, right? The list of pages, well, it's already on the internet. So the sensitive stuff is moving data from Engaging Networks into our CRM. And for that, we have a middleware that is approved by both companies, and it's completely secure.
Okay. This one is from Mon. Congrats. This is amazing and insane. So I wanted to make sure you knew that that came from her. She also wants to know, is this one transaction row? How did you handle refunds based on funds? Refunds.
You have to handle the refund side.
Engaging Networks has a mechanism for refunds, yeah. Right? So it
So if someone donated to 4 funds and they just wanted to refund one of them, was it possible?
Good question.
Yeah, good question. I'm really not sure. I'm sure there's a way to do it. Yeah, we didn't bring our gift processing people with us today.
Maybe it never came up, so
No,
that's a good thing, right?
So the other question was one transaction row. It's one transaction row. I mean, very soon there's going to be fund selection and split funding built into Engaging Networks. It's a tool that Engaging Networks has said is underway, and we've been advising on some of those requirements. But 1,300 funds wasn't really in the roadmap. And so that was one of the things that led us to create our own solution. But yeah, it's just one row and then one field that has essentially a bitmap on it. Yeah.
I think I have the answer. So if someone donates to 3 funds, the maximum is 5. They donate to 3 funds, we would simply refund everything and then re-enter their donation for the ones that they want to support.
All right. If we didn't get to your question, I apologize. We are out of time, but I'm sure these guys would be happy to chat with you later today at happy hour or before then. So thank you both. Let's give it up for these guys.
Thanks.